my deck. Hello and welcome. We are going to do session number 8 and session number 9 together today. And how does it get any better? I'm going to share my screen. All right, here you go. Hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay. The reason why you see at the top of the session it says blended learning is because we are going to focus on blended learning. But having said that, we are also going to talk a little bit about formal versus informal learning. We are going to talk about synchronous versus asynchronous, advantages, disadvantages. We are going to talk about blended learning components, an example, types of models, how it appeals to human senses, which makes it even more practical and adaptable. Then we're going to talk about an integrated approach, pros and cons of blended learning. Then we are going to also compare e-learning versus blended learning. And then we are going to also talk about hybrid learning. So basically totally confuse you. By the end of the day, I'm hoping you guys will have clarity about each of these terms. And when people are using it interchangeably, you can actually take a step back and realize what is the difference between them. All right. So let's begin. First of all, okay, before I show you this boring table, let's first understand from all of you, what do you mean by formal learning and informal learning? We are just 18 of us, so let's have some conversation.
Formal can be in the structure setup like schools or colleges,
Mm,
proper classes,
mm,
scheduled and all. And informal can be like on-job training
mm.
or community-based learning
Social
or
media.
through games and all, or social
Mm,
media, like
mm,
that.
mm. Great. So, what are the modes in which you can actually have formal learning nowadays? देखो एक formal learning के साथ stigma है. People have this mindset that formal learning means एक teacher सामने खड़ा है वो ऐसे पढ़ा रहा है. But is that true today? Even for formal learning, is it true?
No, ma'am, nowadays it can be in the form of recorded videos and the times. Suppose we have taken admission for a particular course and there are
Mhm.
the limited number of videos, schedules and all. Accordingly,
Yes,
the individual himself or herself is following.
yes. But that's self-directed learning. That's not formal learning.
Okay.
फॉर्मल लर्न वही बात है हमें लगता है फिर उसके बाद क्या होता है व्हेन वी हियर ऑल दीज टर्म्स हमें लगता है सब कुछ ही गॉबलीगूक है सेल्फ डायरेक्टेड लर्निंग इज व्हेन यू आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर योर लर्निंग आपको गोल्स दे दिए गए हैं आप पढ़ो एक दिन में पढ़ो पूरे साल में पढ़ो आप पूरी रात में पढ़ो वो आपके पे डिपेंड करता है दैट्स सेल्फ डायरेक्टेड लर्निंग व्हेन वी आर पुटिंग द ओनस ऑफ योर नॉलेज ट्रांसफर ऑन यू तुम ही कर लो भैया अपने आप हमने रिकॉर्डेड सेशन दे दिया आपको फॉर्मल लर्निंग इज द ट्रेनर इज स्टिल इन कंट्रोल so nowadays look at covid times how did teachers teach students who could not come to school कैसे पढ़ाते थे
Online.
online. But
Online
it is still
education.
formal learning. But it is
Yeah,
still
still fun.
formal learning because they are controlling the curriculum. They are saying, okay, do this exercise, do this activity, write down things in your notebook, etc., etc. So the control of the learning outcome, the pace at which the learning is delivered, the exercises, the activities, the interaction, the homework, the pre-work, the test, everything is controlled by the instructor. That is formal learning. Can you tell me where are the places where formal learning trumps informal learning? कौन सी चीजों में formal learning is more relevant than informal learning?
Schools and colleges.
You are teaching the technical topics or core topics where you wanted to more focus or more attention, then you need a formal training program. Or you want to explain
Absolutely,
something.
absolutely. Thank you. So let us say we want to teach somebody how to use a web portal. कैसे website design करते हैं? How will you teach them? Very specific topics. Go to this button, click on this, ऐसे 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 ऐसे. Then you will give them a case study. Then you will give them an example. चलो खुद करके दिखाओ. When there is knowledge to be imparted, there is technical skill to be imparted. There is a change. Let us say that you've changed from Cognos to PeopleSoft, or you changed from PeopleSoft to SAP. The changes, comparison, version upgrade, policy change, compliance, mandatory training, cybersecurity, these are all better done through formal training because there is a structure, there is a methodology. Interaction is important, but then doesn't have to be the core of the learning process. As compared to that, what will you learn well informally? In an L&D setup, let us say there is a group of trainers, जैसे हम बैठे हुए हैं. What will you learn really well informally?
Maybe
Like
something that we
reading
can
any
upskill ourselves with.
Okay. Example?
Um, Maybe communication skills or soft
Mhm.
skills, something like that.
Mhm. Or maybe a problem that you're trying to solve. I'm struggling with this. What do you guys think I should do? Something like that. और तेरे को पता है ये वाला फीचर YouTube में? When you post in YouTube, this happens. Oh, I didn't know. It is not that it cannot be provided as a part of formal training, but often because of paucity of time and curricular and structure, because most of the time formal learning is a structure, not a system. What is the difference between a structure and a system? कौन बताएगा? Who has done an MBA here? What is the difference between a structure and a system?
I think a system is which is having a boundaries. So
Okay.
and within the boundaries, whatever comes in, that enclose one complete system. We can say like
Okay. And what is the structure then?
structure is the set of objects or set of commands, or you can like set of instructions. Let's put in this way. So
Okay.
which is
Somewhere
integrating
there,
one system together.
somewhere there, not perfect. Okay.
Structure is a
Thank you.
defined way of doing something, and the system is something where by default things are going to happen. So system means that it when it is defined, it will going to happen. So one after two after three is going to come.
ये दूसरा वाला गड़बड़ हो गया. So let's look at this. And like I say, I like to dummy things down to the lowest level as a child. Structure is there is a cement block or a toy, a plastic toy. Okay? A plastic toy, उसके साथ मैं इतना ही खेल सकती हूँ. But मैं उसकी टांग नहीं अलग कर सकती, उसकी मुंडी नहीं अलग कर सकती. I cannot change the color of my toy. I can, if it's a house, I cannot change the roof. I cannot change anything else. It's a structure. A system is a Lego, okay, where you can move things around. Okay, it is still allows you to do the job, but it evolves for the outcomes that are to be provided. A structure is solid, can't be changed. A system is something which evolves as per your requirement. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
For example, are we operating right now in a structure or a system?
Structured way.
We are operating under a structure, but we are trying to put in a system inside it. For example, I've been given a set of topics that I need to teach you, right? The structure is defined by the course curriculum. The course curriculum has some material. The course curriculum does not have some of the material that we are talking about, but we are including it. Why? Because we are operating in a system where to understand the structure, if we put the system in place and we include all these elements, it will allow us ease in operating in our lives and allow us ease with the knowledge that we are trying to attain. So in your life, slightly philosophical spiel, and we'll come back to our structure, always operate from systems. When you operate for systems, you are inclusive. When you're operating from structures, you are exclusive. ये नहीं हो सकता. That is structure. ये तो बिल्कुल नहीं हो सकता. ना ना ना, not allowed. नहीं, इसको पहले कर लेते हैं, इसको बाद में कर लेंगे, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? नहीं, ये नहीं हो सकता. That is structure. A system is people are open to the idea and you are open to play with it. That is the difference between system and a structure. Generally, formal learning, unfortunately, has to follow a structure because there's a curriculum, there is outcome, there is milestones. क्लास में इतना पढ़ाना है, इतने दिन में ये पढ़ाना है, इतने दिन में असाइनमेंट है, इतने दिन में एग्जाम है. But in informal learning, you have more of a system where people are willing to go, even if they're discussing Canva, they can go to Venmo. If they're discussing Venmo, they can still talk a little bit of YouTube shorts and they can come back to Canva. So there is a flexibility involved when you're talking about informal learning, which allows people to express opinions, learn from each other, discuss from each other, and also debate things that are considered to be structures and standards and find something which is much more convenient. Does it make sense? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
One small little question.
Yes.
You mentioned about a situation where people say that ये नहीं हो सकता है. But probably there is a lack of vision that it can be actually evolved or looked into a different way.
Yes.
Then will
Yes.
it come under structure or systems?
It will be coming under systems. Whenever you are open to entertain a different viewpoint, when you are not shutting down an idea because you are blindly following the closing structures or the cement, cement boundaries, that is a structure. And that never leads to larger solutions. Agile क्यों popular हुआ बताइए? Why did Agile become popular as a way of working? Because people realize waterfall doesn't work. It means that a mistake that has happened in the beginning is going to be continued to be carried on. Because वो तो हो गया, अब तो उसे नहीं बदल सकते. But why Agile became popular is that you can go back to the drawing board as many times as you want. Every time you go back to the drawing board, you are taking into consideration what can change within the specifications. Of course, if you start building a table and you decide to build an aeroplane, that is a totally different thing. That is not structure, that's stupidity. But if you begin with a wooden table and you realize it's not going to withstand the weather and we need to move to formica or plastic, that is going back to the drawing board and changing it and recreating your project scope so that you don't end up with something that you don't need at the end of the model, waterfall model. And that is why Agile became popular. And nowadays, what is the most common way of learning from each other? Informal learning. People learn on YouTube. So yesterday I have a sprain on my left ankle. I went for a morning walk. I was overexcited. I crossed the 40 minutes mark. I was overexcited. I said, let me do a run. I started my run and I sprained my ankle. Immediately, as if my body told me that, Tina, I told you I'm tired. I didn't listen. So I got a bad sprain on my left ankle. I limped around. I walked around. I got my circulation back. I came back home. Went to the doctor. I said, no, it's paining because it happened on Wednesday. It hasn't gone away yet. So the guy told me, ऐसे बांधो, crepe bandage को ऐसे बांधो, ऐसे बांधना है. Now he gave me something that I should be able to use, but there isn't a way that I will be able to remember it. He's an expert. He's a physiotherapist. उसने एक बार ऐसे करके दिखा दिया. I couldn't remember it. When I tried to do a video, he started laughing. He said, नहीं madam, ये तो नहीं करके दिखाएंगे. Because he wants 100 rupees every time I get the crepe bandage tied by him. That's what he's going to do. ये 40 रुपए दे दो, 50 रुपए दे दो. That kind of an arrangement. So in earlier times, we would fall prey for it. What did I do? I came back home. I typed how to tie crepe bandage for ankle sprain on YouTube. So somebody who was smart enough to provide informal learning to me has already made a mini video. And this guy is an army veteran who is telling me that this is how Jawans get injured and this is how you tie the crepe bandage, and immediately they are able to start running and continue working till the time they are ready for more physiotherapy. Done. So earlier you would have to depend on a structure to go to somebody, learn it, take a course, कि भाई physiotherapy का course लो जानने के लिए. Otherwise you are dependent on somebody else. Nowadays people learn from informal learning the most, and that's beneficial. As learning experts, what should we encourage between our team members when they're learning? For your own headache to reduce, what will you encourage?
Informal.
Absolutely. You encourage people to interact with each other. You give them assignments where people have to rack their brains so that they discuss with each other. In the process, they learn something new. Now, there is this whole hoo-ha about one of the assignment questions that was put. It was mentioned in the course material, but it was not explained in the course. The idea was for people to go and research it, find out something about it, and in the process of researching it, learn something about it. But since people are so used to the whole idea of structured education, people created this whole hoo-ha about that assignment question, which I found to be very funny. In today's world, people do not go by structure. When there is something new, the first thing you do, even before asking anybody, is Google, right? You Google, you find out about it, and then you further research it. Information was never more freely available as of today. Never more freely available. You can get anything and everything if you would like to know about it. So, as learning experts, for us to also know from people, because we think we know, but most of the times people come back and surprise you. They give you information that you never knew about. So, in the benefit of developing a learning culture, if you remember, we spoke about learning culture in one of our lectures. If you have to develop an efficient and effective learning culture, what do you need to develop? You need to develop systems where people learn, get the knowledge through formal structures, but also reiterate the knowledge enough number of times among yourselves so that they can learn from it truly. Not just mug up information or follow SOPs like mini little minions or soldiers, because that's what AI is for. If they have to truly learn something, they should get projects, case studies, applications, kind of assessments which should rack their brains so that they can apply that learning in real life and learn from it. Okay. So having said that, sorry, it came out to be a little bit of a speech, but I just wanted to mention that it is important for all of us to stay relevant at this point in time, because when people will be doing these assignments, etc., I am 200% sure you will learn something new, because we cannot have all the information at one point in time. And this is a fantastic way to learn from people whom you are facilitating. So what is the difference between formal learning and informal learning? I'm not going to parrot it. I'm going to put it up on the screen so that all of you can have a look at it. And then let's have any discussion in case if you would like to. Okay. So I'm going to put it up on the screen and I'm going to stay quiet for a few seconds for all of you to grasp this. So here you go. We are saying difference between formal learning and informal learning. What are the aspects we are talking about? Environment, structure, learner autonomy, methodology, assessment, certification, duration, intent, delivery. So I'm going to stay quiet for a few seconds so that all of you can absorb that and I can have a couple of sips of my coffee. Okay, questions? Is this enough time or do you need more time? Anybody needs more time?
A little more time.
Sorry?
A
A
little
little
more
more.
time.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Just a second. I'm going to increase the speed of the. Okay, let's have a discussion in case anybody has an opinion about this or would like to know more about it, or else we'll move into asynchronous and synchronous learning methodology. Anybody has a question, doubt, clarification?
Ma'am, N.S. Rao this side.
Yes. Yes.
I want to just add one thing, intent.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Formal learning, it is mentioned as goal-oriented.
Mhm.
Same thing can be done in informal also. No? There also
Yes.
goal orientation will be there.
Yes.
Without any
yes.
purpose or goal, normally learning will not happen.
Okay. Thank you. So when we say goal oriented, to some extent, that is why I had that conversation about structure, but a clear goal hota hai when we
Yes.
talk about
Yeah.
intent. For example, people should be able to understand what is synchronous training. This is the kind of a goal. Whereas many things that we talked about in the, not you didn't talk about, I gave you a lecture on, were things that you get to learn. But they're not specific goals. That is what it meant. But you are right. There's supposed to be goal in both the things. It's just that here what we mean by goal is specific learning outcomes, which are very tangible.
Okay, ma'am. That is a specific, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for taking notice.
Ma'am,
Anyone
just
else?
a doubt,
Yes.
just a doubt over here.
Bataiye.
So the in both formal and informal learning, just to top up on that question, both of them should not have definite or some end goals at the end of the day, because that also aims to teach you something. So that should have something which is very definite and something which is very clear. So I am not very clear on that fact.
Okay. So informal learning will not have something which is very clear. Informal learning is integrated into the learning systems for people to learn from each other, but it doesn't ride on it. It is like the additional side dish that you're served, but it doesn't take away from the carbohydrates and the proteins and the minerals and the vitamins. It's a sweet dish. Informal learning enhances the flavor of your menu, but a trainer cannot depend upon informal learning delivering the outcome. It is an add-on. It is a support system that we put into blended learning so that people can see things in action. But the core delivery of the concept still happens through formal learning, and that is why it is called structure or goal-oriented. ये तो तुम्हें जानना ही है. Now, when we introduce informal learning into our formal learning sessions, it's called blended learning, and that is where people get to apply what they learn in formal learning, and then they use it. But only using it without the information will not serve the purpose. So it is like a Venn diagram. Formal learning is like the outer superset. Informal learning comes into formal learning to enhance it, to make sure that the delivery is specific for the outcome to be tangible. Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am, understood.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. We are 20 people now. Let's move into synchronous and asynchronous learning. But before that, what does synchronous and asynchronous learning mean to you? Any ideas? Wild guesses? What does these two terms mean?
I think synchronous is like when you have an instructor in place and there is instructions and everything ongoing. So it's like everything is into a synchronized way. Things are happening according to a, let's put it, structure way, and then learning is happening. When we are doing asynchronous, then it's like nothing is organized. So it's like you are doing a self-paced training program, or we are attending any watching any YouTube videos or having any other informal discussions. So informal can be a asynchronous. Maybe I'm not correct, but yeah, can
No, very good,
yeah.
very good example. I mean, you almost hit it on the head. So here you go. I'm going to bring it up on the screen for all of you. A simple visual to tell you very clearly. Okay, a request for everybody to stay on mute, please, because there is some background noise coming. Okay. Okay, so here you go. When to use synchronous learning and when to use asynchronous learning. So synchronous learning is basically an activity in real time, like rightly mentioned. It happens in real time, like a Zoom or a chat. Using synchronous activities, you get to have student interaction, just like we are doing, and we are also interacting with the trainer. Whereas asynchronous learning means that the learning activities is like an online course that the students can complete on their own. Somebody just gave an example in the beginning of the session. Use asynchronous activities for activities that benefit the student for doing it at their own pace. To large extent, self-directed learning. When you have given a topic, let us say mandatory training hai, and you know that it is a renewal of a certificate, cyber security, and all these trainings that we all take in corporate world, they are left asynchronous after the first iteration, is because people have already taken this training. They already know what needs to be done. They know the test methodology. They just really need to renew their certificate. In that situation, it is left to them to complete it by a certain date, and that is typically an asynchronous learning methodology. Now let us look at the advantages and disadvantages. So there's a lot of stuff that's on the screen. You can either listen to me while I'm talking through them, or you can listen to me while I don't have this on the screen. So let's do this. Let me allow you a minute to go through the advantages and disadvantages of synchronous and asynchronous learning. And then let's talk about it. Let's clarify your doubts, because you are not children who have not heard these terms before, and neither do you need complete handholding on these things. But still, I wanted to bring this up because it's very important for you to have complete and total clarity on what these terms are, so that you are never confused ever in the future. So I'm going to stay quiet for let us say 30 seconds and let you go through the content we have on the screen instead of reading it for you. I'm clocking the 30 seconds so that there's not too much of dead air in the video for someone who's watching it later. All right, good. 30 seconds done. Any questions on synchronous and asynchronous learning advantages and disadvantages? Primarily, it says that in synchronous learning, you get the option to interact, ask questions, learn from each other, exchange ideas. It also allows the instructor to interact and have a human element. Whereas in asynchronous, it's pretty much on you. You have to do all of this, all of the stuff by yourself, etc., etc. But then there is flexibility. There you can rewind, listen, which you will get after this. The session is over. You still get the videos, but at this point in time, it's a synchronous training that we are having. Disadvantages: people who, let us say, somebody doesn't understand English really well. These classes are happening in English. In that case, in synchronous learning, people might struggle a little. So they have to re-listen and listen in asynchronous, which helps them learn better. Let us say somebody is not a learning and development professional, is a fresher, and we are using all these terms, formal learning, informal learning, instructor-led, do. And this person is very new and they are not able to understand. For them, asynchronous learning might work better. Yes, Mr. Rao, please tell me.
Actually, the major disadvantages in the part 2 only. Part 1 are mostly technical disadvantages.
Yes.
But the what you call where mind work, improper motivation and all, disconnect. These are the major disadvantages. That is what
Exactly. Exactly. Especially if you look at online courses. We sign up with all excitement. Pehla module, dusra module, and then we are all, it slows down. I took up a course recently. I don't remember which course. It was some Udemy course. It had 11 modules. I did 2 of them self-motivated. Second module was a little boring. And after that, I have not gone back to it. So there is no proper motivation because you are not doing it as a group. So now in the office, we have now decided we will finish it by the end of this month. So now I have somebody to push me so that we finish it. But you are right. It lies in the mind. Sometimes it also works against, while the benefits, people think it outweighs the challenges of traveling to somewhere and having to be present for a facilitator. Sometimes the benefits, the disadvantages outweighs the way the knowledge is received. For example, in the last few MBA modules which was given to us, saying that these 3 modules you have to do on your own. We didn't do them. We were bad students. We sat 3 days before the exam. We mugged up jo bhi mila usme se, and we did something in the exam and we got away. Was there any true learning in it? There wasn't. So it's a very philosophical debate as to what you can leave to asynchronous training and what you should not leave to asynchronous training only. It can be done as a combination, like right now. You are in the class. After the class, you will listen to the video once or twice if you get the time. So at least you are getting the option to listen and re-listen and clarify any questions or doubts. You can write it down. But only if I leave it ki video sun lena, like some people who have not come here, there is a high chance they will miss out on the opportunity to clarify their doubts, ask a question, or they might get a little more confused. So thanks for bringing that up. Any other comments? Shivani, you look tired. Are you all right? You are not. What's wrong? You're unwell? Oh, thank you for making time to attend.
Yep. One of the disadvantage that I do feel with the synchronous learning is that sometimes because of not structuring it a well way, it becomes a passive lectures, especially with
Yes.
certain trainers or instructors. So it's like
Huh.
you don't, there is no activity within the session, and
Yes.
it's getting passive and no engagement across the session. So that's one of the biggest disadvantages that I do see, other than the
It
listed
becomes
one.
boring. It becomes
Yeah.
boring. Uh, and it becomes, especially in the online mode, it can be really, really challenging to stay engaged, correct? Because the examples are not relevant or I'm not able to connect to what is going on. It becomes a nightmare for the trainer also to be able to manage that kind of a group. So how do we make sure that we do not fall in the trap that you just mentioned? What are the few things we can do? What do you think?
I think for me, it should be a well designed the course or the session, whatever it is. So it should be a well designed way. As many as in activities we should include into it. I think when we say that well designed, it covers everything, all the elements, starting from the entire session plannings and course curriculum, everything. It
No,
should
but
be.
I prefer what you said instead of just shrouding it under well designed. Uh, Let us say what well design means. Means number one, it should have enough number of interaction points. Adult learning principle, बताओ हमने इसके बारे में बात की थी. What is the minimum number of minutes we should be breaking attention as per adult learning principle? बताओ. We are all learning experts. 24 people on the call.
Can you repeat once again? What did you ask?
The adult learning principle says how many minutes should we break attention for people?
Yeah,
Every
15 to 21 minutes.
15 to 21 minutes. But now that has changed with the new group of people coming in, right?
Yeah.
The generation is impatient. So a well-designed program would mean you have to time your content in a way that इसके बीच में icebreaker डाल दिया, इसके बीच में interaction डाल दिया. Again, not to play my own tune, but do you notice that after 1 or 2 slides, I always stop and talk? Why? So that you don't fall asleep. So that you still feel a connection to what we are talking about, so that somebody can make a comment, somebody can throw an example, somebody can talk about a real problem, or we can crack a joke, or we can have a laugh. It's very important and that is what he means when he says, for the reference of everyone else, well designed. Well designed program means it's rife. It's rife with activities, icebreakers, conversations, feedbacks, sometimes polls, jokes, Even you have to time your jokes at times when you do not know the audience well. Let us say I meet you for the first time. I do not know what kind of people, what kind of interactions I will have. But I always have a repertoire of different kind of jokes that I can crack so that it, settles the atmosphere and opens up people a little bit for conversation, because this is the challenge all of you will face. I was having a conversation about a train the trainer program that people are requesting ISTD to do. And they said, above all, that you will tell Blue with us, please tell our trainers how to engage people in the online mode. Because nobody puts on cameras. It's very difficult to see what kind of engagement activities, which also demotivates the trainer and they just read the slides and go away. Eventually, it results in an ineffective training session. So when you say well designed, those are I hope those are the things. Did I miss something? Would you like to add something more when you say well designed?
Yeah. No, I think you covered most of the thing, and uh, my meaning with that was that it should be having check to do the mind job, to get the personal connect with the participant,
Yes.
to inform the exchange information what we wanted to exchange, and sometimes like it's very important to show them what is the real world connect with that particular session or that particular course, because at the end it should be connected, okay, how it is going to help you and when you are actually going to apply that particular information into the work or wherever you are.
So
So
the
that's what
VFM should be very clear for everybody. The
exactly
VFM is what's in it for me. तो मुझे क्यों
what's in.
सिखा रहे हो ये? क्या करूंगी मैं जो कर रही हूँ उसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है? अभी तो मैं कर ही रही हूँ ना. So people should know first, what are you doing, the status quo, what we should be able to do after this. This is the benefit I'm going to say. Now I get it. Now I'm interested to learn. And thank you for bringing that up. Thank you so much. All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we move into a little more exciting things?
I asked a question. It's self-directed learning an example of asynchronous learning.
Okay, 1 second. Yes, self-directed learning is the perfect example of asynchronous learning. You go to Udemy, you go to Mind Valley, you go to all these places. They're beautiful, very well structured recordings, online videos available with activities, with practice exercises, etc. Those are asynchronous learning, where you can learn at your own pace and you control the number of exercises you do, what time you do, how you pause, when you get back to it. It is also a beautiful example of adaptive learning management system. That means that the learning system adapts to your needs. It pauses. So, for example, you are listening to this on a laptop, and suddenly you have to sit in a car and you have to go somewhere, but you have some time, somebody else is driving. So you can go and resume your session on your mobile phone or your iPad, and you can keep listening to it. So this is also a beautiful example of implementation of adaptive learning practices through learning management system. Does that help? All right. Thank you. All right. Let's now go into blended learning. So why am I building up a little bit of excitement around blended learning is because blended learning is the way to go. It has been the way to go for quite some time, but after the pandemic specifically, we have also recognized that that is the 98 to 99% of the people prefer the blended learning route, along with the element of most of the stuff happening online. So how do we make sure that blended learning hits all our learning objectives, gives people a fantastic high about learning something new, and what kind of models are available, what benefits are available, etc., etc. Okay. So I'm going to first bring up the slide, which is a lot of information. So let's go here. Zoom, share, why can't I see my screen? Okay, can you guys see the screen? I believe so.
Yes.
All right. So there's some information on the screen. I've tried to do it, like I say, I like to dummy it down. I'm a child in many ways in my head. So I like to see things visually. It helps me to kind of assimilate it easily and doesn't allow me to get too overwhelmed. So what is blended learning? It combines the benefits of e-learning and in-person learning to provide a rich and unique user experience. Training is comprehensive, dynamic, and highly effective. But what are the benefits in concrete terms? What makes blended learning unique? We'll talk about it. But before that, let's look at the Venn diagram. Again, this visual should never leave you if you're able to understand it. There is face-to-face learning, doesn't make a difference whether the face-to-face is happening online or offline. Then there is online learning where it's recorded. There is no interaction possible. For example, I learned this course from Vishen Lakhiani, the Silva meditation technique. I have never met Vishen in my life. I cannot write a question to him. I cannot interact with him. I can never talk to him. Even if I am talking to somebody on chat, I am talking to some support group. So that is online learning where the sessions have been recorded for everybody and there is a team that supports you through your questions, etc. So the blend of both of these is actually blended learning. So that is where in the middle, the overlap of two sets lies the blended learning space. Now on the right hand side, what we have tried to do is give you a visual about kya farak hai e-learning and in-person learning. In e-learning, it is easily accessible training autonomy, which means that you see the devices, there is a laptop, there's an iPad, there's a mobile. And then you can train a large number of people at low cost because now you don't have to book a hall, you don't have to arrange for snacks, and you don't have to arrange for transportation, you don't have to arrange for night stay and evening drinks and 1 million other things that comes with it. Then you save time for learners and businesses. So most of the time people in the previous traditional setups have tend to say that वो December में training करा लो. You know, it becomes off-site and it becomes a fun activity. There is no harm in that. It's just that it actually requires a huge amount of time investment for people to go physically, attend. It has its own benefits, but when it has to be done in a situation where results are immediately required, for example, there is an immediate software patch that needs to be implemented, or there is a change in the way business is happening, ways of working, WOW, wow, the wow for the business is changing. At that time, you cannot afford to have those kind of interventions. So it saves times for learners and it saves times for businesses. It monitors learners' progress because now most of the activities will be administered online for learning management system, which means that you can track your progress, your boss can track your progress, and the chief learning officer can track the organization's learning hours, progress, how people are doing against targets, etc., etc. Because all of this actually becomes a part of the NPS score also. Most of the learning outcomes that become goals are from the NPS score, the Gallup survey that happens at the end of the year. So the CLO, the Chief Learning Officer, or the whoever is in charge, let us say the Senior Vice President of Human Resources and Learning, that person is interested in knowing how is the organization progressing against the targets. And because we are now using various kind of learning management systems, tracking and monitoring learners' progress becomes easier and easier. In the benefits now, because it's blended learning, there is in-person interaction also. What are the benefits of that? Interaction establishes a trusted link between the learner and the trainer. For example, it's a safe space. You can bring up an example here as we are talking today, and we can hash it out. There is no hesitation of saying, you know, Tina, I didn't understand this. Can you tell me this one more time? The hesitation reduces because there is a human connection. There is a trusted link because we've been interacting over a period of time. Then there is hands-on experience and practical exercises. What kind of hands-on experiences can you provide? In this situation, we are not designing a training program, otherwise we could have a hands-on experience, but at least we can have practical exercises like we're having these problems that we're discussing about, and we're looking at various solutions that we can provide. You can also use tools like Menti and other various kinds of online interaction tools, whiteboard, etc., to have exercises where people can interact and learn from each other. And then a sense of belonging and encouragement, which Mr. Rao was talking about. Oh, तुमको अकेला छोड़ दिया कोने में बैठ के अपने आप पढ़ लो. As compared to that, when you have a group of people learning together, for example, you have made the time to come on a Sunday. You come and sit and learn. You can go off camera for some time. You can have a biscuit, have some coffee, just like why I am having while I'm talking to you. But you're also learning something with the process, and you're also interacting with others. The learning becomes effortless. Whereas when you have to learn by yourself, you have to book time, you have to pay attention, because there is a group of people and a discussion is going on. It's easy on the ears and the learning becomes easy. So let's take an example of a blended learning journey. So let us say it begins at an e-learning course. So many of us would have seen that when you're learning something new, people will send you a lovely email. Welcome to this training. Congratulations on being selected for this training. And we are excited to have you. To have the best benefit from this training, we request you to complete this course before you come. What is it? It can be a pre-assessment. It can be a baseline activity by the trainer to make sure I don't have to teach the ABC fundamentals before people come. This is generally done in a situation where the group is very diverse, age-wise, department-wise, function-wise, responsibility-wise, can be junior people, senior people. In those kind of trainings, a trainer generally sends out a e-learning course or a small survey or a test or something to make sure that people cover the fundamentals. Or it is also an attempt for the trainer to see how much of variety am I going to have in the classroom? What kind of people am I going to interact with today? Which means that he can adapt his learning methodology based on that. So it will depend whether he will begin from what is training or he will straight away jump into methodologies of training and development. So let us say after that, you say in-person training session goes into more detail. This is what I spoke about, that you get the data from the pre-work. Most of the people will disguise it under the name of pre-work. And then when you have an idea as a learning expert, you can deliver the adaptive training content. And then you give some games and assignments. And then you also request people to record videos or audios. So talk about the problems that they solve. So in classroom setting, typically what do? We say, okay, we are giving you breakout rooms. You guys hash out a problem, come back, and one group representative tells about the activities and the outcomes you guys have discussed about. And nowadays, the interactive ways, because people are online and their Zoom groups, people also record their videos or they record their audios as to what they have established as an outcome of the training, and they present. And at the end, you can also do a quiz or a fun assessment, which is like a real life problem which everybody has to solve. And it can be solved in groups. You can give each other peer-to-peer feedback. So this is an ideal example of a pre-work, a post-work, and also in-person training in terms of knowledge and also activities that brings the entire learning experience together. So now I've spoken for a long time. I'm going to pause and look for reactions and questions. And in fact, I'm going to pause and but not stop sharing so that you can keep looking at the screen and you can ask any questions, doubts, or clarifications. I'm going to pause for some time. Any questions? Any feedback, any opinion? Pachis log sannata. Okay, so either it's everybody has understood everything or nobody has understood nothing. So let's find out which one is it.
I think it was well clear.
Okay.
At least I can say.
Assurance. Thank you, brother. It helps. Such bata rahi hu, I also struggle with the online thing. I don't get to see your faces, smiling faces. So I don't even know कि लोग गाली दे रहे हैं, समोसे खा रहे हैं, चाय बना रहे हैं, प्रेशर कुकर लगा रहे हैं, कुछ नहीं पता चलता भाई. नया दुनिया एकदम. New world. Okay.
Waiting
Now
for
we
a
are going to
question.
talk. Sorry?
We will ask the question, the terminology question now. I'm just waiting for that.
No, but now we are going to talk about. So, how many of you know that there are different types of blended learning models? Have you heard about the types of blended learning models?
No. Not at least the types.
So there are quite a few, and for the past, I think 6-7 साल पहले मुझे भी नहीं पता था. So once I was told that you make a presentation in Amity University on blended learning and how it makes sense. That time COVID haven't happened. And there were only 4 types at that time. And then after that, it has evolved. Till that time, even I didn't know that there are types of blended learning. मुझे लगता था 70-20-10 ही blended learning होता है और कुछ होता ही नहीं. So I'm going to share this with you, and I hope this will be helpful for all of you. So these are the types of blended learning models. Now let's look at it. It's exciting and interesting. Okay, there is the face-to-face driver model. Okay, then there is the flipped model. Then there is the enriched virtual model. There is the flex model. There is the rotation model. Then there is the online driver model. Now, who can tell me? Let's take the diagonal, okay? Diagonal is the face-to-face driver model and the online driver model. So if I take the diagonal, can somebody take a guess? What is the difference between face-to-face driver model and the online driver model?
So face to face, maybe the classroom when a trainer is present into the classroom, and online is like trainer is there, but he's into the online mode.
Yes. So who is in the driving seat? That is what makes the difference. So in face-to-face driver model, traditional instruction with supplemental online resources. For example, I am teaching you a complicated concept of instructional design standards. Okay, very traditional instruction driven. The standard was defined in so and so year by so and so scientists. It was done by this. For additional reading, you can refer to this and this and this. This is happening. It's blended because I'm giving you online resources for you to play around, learn, experience, understand. But the control, who is in the driver's seat? The trainer is in the driver's seat. The trainer is controlling the experience. As compared to that, the online driver model is predominantly online with minimum in-person interaction. For example, I say, okay, let's do this virtual engagement game. I'm breaking you out straight away in the beginning of the classroom. The trainer comes and say, okay, we have a fun problem to solve. And through solving this problem, you will have some challenges and then we will solve it. And that is how you will get the concept. So we give you a real life problem, we break you out into Zoom group and people sit together and they put their brains together. Oh, we should solve it like this and that and this and that. And they come back and they do a presentation. And then the trainer says, okay, from this, all these outputs, have you understood that these are the 3 important things that you will have to do for any problem to be solved? So the problem gets solved, everybody learns a little bit. But who is in the driver's seat? The online activities is in the driver's seat. People are learning from each other. There's high interactivity, informal learning. The trainer is a moderator, and the outcome is generally what the result was expected. Where are the situations where you would prefer to do online driver model? You want to do it with people like project managers who have just come back from a project which has either failed or either hugely been successful. There is a session that is done right after a project is delivered, and it is called mistakes to learn from or lessons learned. Many people do it, many organizations, in fact, most of the good organizations always have a sit down after a project has been delivered to find out what went well and what did not go well and what can we learn from it. In fact, many of the organizations also have a proper formal document that documents everything that has been done well in the project, what can be replicated and what are the few things that should not have happened and how they can make sure it never happens. Those kind of discussions, or a discussion where nobody knows the solution. People have reached a hiatus. This happens again at a CEO level. Let us say that you have an organization which is spread all across the world. You have global presence. You have more than 8 lakh, 9 lakh employees. And you guys have reached a glitch at a management level. How will you solve it? You don't know the solution. You are trying to sit down. You are trying to brainstorm and find out what is the right way to go about it. You can also get in experts from outside to discuss, SMEs, other organizational experts. You can get a consultant to moderate, especially those kind of conversations where you have staffing, you're doing a strategy, or you're reached a problem which is not easy to solve, in that situation, online driver mode is beautiful. Why? One, because it gives enough autonomy, exchange of ideas. It is not stifling. It doesn't have an outcome associated to it. There is somebody who is moderating it. Generally, when you have an online driver model, somebody needs to moderate it. Otherwise, what happens is some people will get disengaged. They will simply detach themselves. Some people will detach. Some people whose voice is not being heard or they are not getting due importance will start creating ruckus. So somebody has to moderate and make sure that people stay on track. So that is one of the examples of online driver model. I try to talk about the blended learning model beginning with the diagonal because these are the two ones which you can relate to most easily and effectively. Now let's look at the flipped model. Not easy. You get, when we talk about a flipped model, you give online instructions which are complemented by in-class activities. For example, I say, okay, in today's classroom, everybody log into so-and-so website. Okay, people log into that website, you give them username, password, and say, okay, complete these 3 exercises. So people complete these 3 exercises and they get a score. How many of you have used psychometrics in classrooms? Nobody?
No.
Very small.
Psychometric
Did
test.
ma'am.
Yeah, or maybe a Belvin test or something where you get to know what kind of a team player you are, what is your risk-taking capability, okay, or something like this. In these situations, people take an online instruction, okay, they'd use this instrument, and then they score. And once they have this score, you give them in-class activities based on the score that they have received. It's a fun activity. There's a lot of learning. You get to, first of all, know, discover about yourself. And there is a lot of interaction involved. Then there is the enriched virtual model. So primarily online, which means typically like IGNU does, I don't know whether IGNU does it now, but at least Amity and many other universities do, they have primarily online sessions, but they also have these afternoon or evening, twice a month or thrice a month sessions where people get to interact with each other. This can happen over a Zoom where people can talk to a live person instead of only interacting with existing videos, or a speaker only video. How many of you have interacted with a speaker only video? Like a webinar where you cannot talk, only someone else can talk. You can participate and listen. Have you attended any of those?
Yeah. Now
Like
I
where
think it's
there's,
for larger
sorry.
audience.
Yeah,
Yes.
700, 800 people. Okay, some CEO is talking. So वो primarily online होता है. There's a lot of information download, generally town halls, budget meetings, annual financial reports, CEO strategy sessions. These are all typical those kind of sessions. But after that, generally the top brass gets together and they have conversations. They talk about what does it mean for my department, etc., etc. So this is away from a training example, but I'm just trying to make it real for you. Enriched virtual model means you give a huge information download and then you translate them into face-to-face sessions to hash it down. And this is a typical example where a CEO downloads the entire vision statement, the financial statement, the next year's vision, the goals, etc. And then departmental heads, honchos, the C-level people start getting together into strategy meets with their own teams, which further gets cascaded downwards. And all those strategy meetings contain 3 things. 1, lots of activities. Number 2, lots of brainstorming. And number 3, core values that they will be focusing on by the end of all of that. So that's an enriched virtual model because it is not always possible for everybody to get together for that. Now, flex model is the easiest to understand. इसमें कोई maths नहीं है. It is basically depending upon how much of an availability is there. It is like you want to do a normal training session, how many people are available online, offline. It's a most convenient, flexible model where you as a trainer decide what is going to be the percentage of interaction, what is going to be the online. So it's flexible, there is no percentage, there's not too much of a science to it. The rotation model, now this is the exciting one. So I'm going to stop here. What time is it? It is 11:07. So let me stop here. Let's talk about rotations, okay? And then we'll take a break. What do you mean by rotations? How many have done a job rotation?
I think I've been recently gone through the job rotation.
Okay. And
It's
Mr.
more
Rao has
about
raised his hand.
performing, like in a department only performing someone else's duty for some time to understand their perspective
Mm.
on it and then our perspective on it, then move to different job roles in the same department.
Yes.
In big organization, it is a must, ma'am.
Yes. Cross-skilling.
Yeah.
Remember we did that fun about
One is
upskilling, cross-skilling,
cross
de-skilling.
skilling, and other is anti-fraud measure.
Yes.
In
Anti-fraud measure.
banking,
Yes.
we don't allow people to sit in the same seat for more than 3 years. And definitely every 6 months, we rotate the jobs of frontline people,
Wow.
operational people.
So that makes sure that there is no corruption, there
Yeah.
is no kickbacks, etc., that can be put in place.
Yeah. Monopoly is not there. They are aligning to some customers, all those
Yes.
things.
Yes. One of the benefits of job rotations is career development of people, right? When they say career development, cross-skilling obviously adds value to you. It is also for aspirational value. Now let us take a beat and understand this really well, because I want you to understand this really well. Most of the time when people talk about job rotation, एक sentence बोलते हैं उनकी खत्म हो जाती है. This team is finished. I want you to really understand why a job rotation is important in an organization. First of all, how many of you have learned about long-term job stints and short-term job stints? LTA and STA. Have you heard the words? Acronyms. Long-term assignments and short-term assignments. Understand, assignments or job rotations are a talent lever. If you remember, I'd spoken about talent levers when we spoke about bringing in talent into the organization. How do we get talent into the organization? We buy, we borrow, or we build. Build is training people, buy is hiring people, and borrow is taking it from an external agency or you get it from a different functional department. Now, the borrow from the market is going to be expensive. The borrow from within the organization is going to be affordable because it's the same organization's people working in a different department. It adds to their career ladder. It acts as a lever for planning for the talent pipeline of the organization. It contributes to the succession planning of the organization. So job rotations are not random. They are strategic talent levers that are to be used. Now, when you plan for a job rotation, how do you plan for a job rotation? Job rotations can be of three types. One, where the existing role is expanded. That means the same work, but you do it for multiple countries or multiple states or multiple departments, the same work. Okay. Then the second job rotation can be you go into your colleagues' absolutely different work that you get to learn. Okay. The third type of job rotation is you take a step upwards. That means that you were earlier doing a smaller scope of work and limited scope of work. Now, the scope, the people, the region, everything expands. In all these situations, you are funding the talent pipeline of the organization. And this is where you actually earn a seat at the table of the organization. Otherwise, learning and development department koi nahi puchta at the end of the year. Why? Because we do not make our value tangible. So if you are an effective learning and development professional, your job is to plan the talent in a way that people will get various kind of job rotations that will feed into the talent pipeline, which will further feed into the succession planning of the organization. This largely will include also leadership rotations, leadership development rotations. When you plan your talent strategy, to plan for the business's future, the talent pipeline, that is when your value becomes tangible for the organization. Then the kind of trainings that you bring in, be it communication skills training, be it leadership training, be it strategic planning, conflict resolution, all these kind of trainings, they start building towards effective job rotations, which will have least amount of friction. For example, if you have a cultural sensitivity training and I'm sending somebody from India to manage Asia and Middle East now, their job will be simpler because they've already gone through the trainings that is required. Okay. For example, I'm sending somebody from India to Europe market now, and in Europe, recruitments happen in a very different way. So have you trained them on that? Have you given them the skills? What kind of questions can they ask? What kind of questions can they not ask? What kind of things are required for them to be mindful of when they're doing background checks? So you, as a learning and development expert, make sure that your organization is successful by designing training programs for the talent pipeline of the organization. How do you do that? By planning strategic job rotations, short term or long term. And sorry, I'm very passionate about it, and hence I spoke about it in a long term. Did it make sense? Any questions you have? This is a good time to ask before we break. No questions?
It'll be very good if we had some example on this of your past. This.
Okay. What kind of an example would you like to know?
You change the roles and we built up the pipeline. We actually helped the organization that way.
Okay.
Because I remember in my initial years, I was given a role which I could not understand. Actually, I had a fight.
Really?
Yes, I had a fight with my
sad.
HR head. Why? Because I was the training head. He said that you go because Bharti was operating in 24 circles. And what he gave me was he made me the head for the best practices. I could not understand. I said, ये क्या कर रहा है यार? ये मेरा ना काम खराब कर रहा है. मतलब अच्छा वाला मैंने उठा के he wants me to go. But later on, I could realize that was a fantastic thing, because the fault was at my end because I could not understand. That was a fantastic thing because talking about best practices and bringing it from all over the circles, bringing to my circle will make me much better. That is a USP probably.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
There is something called a skill and a will matrix. You don't know what you don't know. There is a blind spot. But then there is a skill that you have, and then there is a willingness that you have. For example, let us say, as trainers, generally we are good HR people. Why? Because we listen to people. We know when to shut up. We know when to talk. We know when to cajole. We know when to listen. So there is a skill and will matrix that we have to be careful about offering somebody a job. This is a classic example where nobody checked the skill will matrix. Okay. So you had a certain skill. You were really good at it. Somebody came and said, oh, I will change your life. I will give you this job. First of all, nobody checked your willingness. Even to check your willingness, did somebody educate you? Nobody educated you what this job is. Also, nobody educated you the WIFM as to in how many years, how this will translate into something which is going to be exciting for you, for the organization, and for everybody who will work under you. So before you give somebody a job rotation, aspirational value has to be checked with the person. Some people are perfectly okay doing what they are doing. They do not want to try something new. It is in the favor of the organization to cross-skill their people. But if people are not willing, you might actually lose good people. Yeah. So the first thing is that whenever you do a skill will matrix, you get to know, let us say in your case, you were doing the job really well and now they're sending into a best practices business development role. What will this entail? This will entail talking to various competitors, finding out what their best practices are, looking at the various circles where your organization operates and seeing where are we, what is our status quo, what kind of practices we have, what kind of a team will I require to bring those best practices which are there for the competitors into all my 24 circles. What kind of a TAC team can I prepare, which is a combination of various kind of people from various locations. And that becomes a task force which can start implementing these results. And then these practices, how will we measure? What will be the measure of success? In how many months are we expecting to have short-term gains, long-term gains, designing everything, and then telling, hey, this is what you will be doing. Do you like this? Would you like to do this? And if you finally see the picture, because you might not be ready, you don't know what you don't know, you say, Pata nahi, I'm not sure, I've never done this before. That is when the training begins. How will you go and interact with competitors? So we will send you to a conference, or we'll send you to a conclave, and this will happen gently. You don't do cross-skilling ऐसे ही उठा के job rotation नहीं करते. You send this person to this conference and say, go interact with various people who are coming to this conference, find out. Let this person come back. Like you, there will be 2-3 people more who will go to the conference. You will learn something, you will come back, you will discuss with the trainer or who have designed this program. Then we will send you into a conflict resolution program. Then we will send you into a negotiations program. Then we will send you into some kind of a mini 3-month program. After this, we'll again ask you, this is a role that we would like to send you into. Are you willing now? Is it exciting for you? By that time, because you've gone through those trainings and experiences, your willingness to try something increases, and you now know a little bit what you didn't know. And that is how you move somebody from one role into another. आप उठा के किसी को गिरा दोगे, that's baptism by fire. It's like throwing somebody into the ocean. That doesn't always necessarily work. So creating rotation roles is an art. It's a subtle, beautiful art that learning experts have. And obviously it has to be done in collaboration with human resources. You cannot start doing that randomly. But if it's done well, it sets up people for success, teams for success, organizations for success.
Nice.
Does it make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, fantastic. This
All right.
this should have been told to my boss. My
अरे इसका वीडियो कट करके भेजना, फोटो हटा दे रहा मेरी, वीडियो भेज दे, उसका वो ऑडियो भेज देना, ऑडियो. अच्छा ठीक है. We are at 11:18. Any other questions? I will give you a short break and then we'll again get together at 12 o'clock. Anything anyone else wants to ask before we resume at 12?
No.
Everybody okay? Okay. Lunch कर लो जल्दी से or a snack. This class was supposed to go until 11:30. I'm giving you 11 minutes back. We will meet at 12 o'clock and then we'll go until 1:30. We'll finish blended learning and I hope we'll have a good time. All right. I'll see you at 12 o'clock.
Thank you.
Right, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.